Welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And wow, what a comeback. What a night for the Philadelphia Union north of the border in Toronto as your Philadelphia Union completed the comeback, defeating Toronto FC 2-1 with goals from Nathan Harriel and Kai Wagner. And this team, after giving up a late equalizer once again, this time to Inter Miami, they come back and they score 2 goals in 5 minutes, score the game-winning goal on the 92nd minute. This is a team that never quits, never dies, and me and Jose will dive all into that tonight. But yeah, this team, they're exciting to watch, and it's interesting to me, Jose, right? Where I don't want to dive in too much what we talked about way before the show started, but it is funny, right? Where you had warned people a while ago that, look, this Philadelphia Union team, they have the potential to be really good. They got some really good pieces. Don't sleep on the Philadelphia Union. And for whatever reason, the Union still can't get the love. They can't get the attention from the national media. But they don't care. They're going to continue to go about their business. They're going to continue to fly under the radar because, as we saw in 2022, that's when the Union were at their best.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And hi, and thank you for having me. I'm doing well and back at it. I was out at the shore in Sea Isle with the family since last Saturday. Came back today because, of course, work today and through the weekend. But no, Todd, wholeheartedly agree. It's unbelievable how they figure out some of these games, and I think we saw some of those come from behind wins, gritty, whatever adjective you want to use to describe blue collar. I think is one that gets tossed around quite a bit, right? Just going and grinding. We saw some of those victories in 2022, right? And in terms of figuring it out and sorting it out at the last minute, but it's hard to argue with what is happening at the Union or in Chester. But make no mistake, this game was full of irritating moments, I think, for people who watch the games like you and I and dissect them as best as we can, and in terms of every pass being an inch too far or just out of position, and you can't blame them either. It's been such a long month of May. It feels like August already with how many games they've played. But yeah, eager to dive in and sort of talk about what's next.
Yeah, and you had mentioned May, and we'll talk about that here in a bit, where it's been an unbelievable May for the Union, going undefeated, I believe, right? The whole month of May. So Bradley Cornell had given praise to the coaching staff at the beginning of the week on Monday, and I'll play that clip later on in the show. But yeah, just so much positives to take out of this game. But before we talk about the game, I do want to talk about a quick bit of news. I feel like I only have one thing lined up. If I'm missing anything, I actually am missing something, so we will talk about that. I didn't have it in the show description, but first things first, let's get to the first news point and get straight to the news. All right, so that first bit of news is, because it's a midweek game, we get to see early Team of the Matchday honors. Nathan Harriel, Kai Wagner both earned Team of the Matchday for their goals against Toronto in the Union's 2-1 comeback. This is Kai Wagner's second Team of the Matchday of this season. Nathan Harriel, this is his first, and the Union have had a ton of different players representing them in the Team of the Matchday. Nathan Harriel last night scored a second goal. Kai Wagner became the 13th different Union player this season to score a goal. Also has 7 assists on the year. Nathan Harriel becomes the 9th different Union player to earn a spot in Team of the Matchday. And yeah, this is a team that you would expect a lot of accolades, a lot of honors because of how they're playing. First place, not only in the East, but all of MLS in leading the Supporters Shield. And we had talked about it a little bit, how you try to warn people this is going to be an interesting Philadelphia Union team. And I think you and I had both got on to the show earlier on in the preseason, praising the moves that the Union had made, saying that this does have the potential to be a really, really special season. And so far, it's proved to be that. 16 games into the season, the Philadelphia Union have 33 points. And yeah, it's just been unbelievable to see all these different players getting accolades. And a little bit upset last week, though, that Ty Baribo made the bench for his 2 goals against Inter Miami. Not sure how that works, but hey, look, I guess at least Ty Baribo was included, but probably should have been in the starting 11. 2 goals, lead MLS with 13 goals, but that's neither here or there. But love to see Nathan and Kai, both defenders, getting on the team of the match day.
Yeah, it's a nice accolade. I don't think at this point they probably even care about it. I'm sure their agents do when it comes to bonuses and other bits and pieces that they sort of pay attention to. But yeah, it's nice to see. And even though I write for MLS, I want to be super clear and transparent. I have nothing to do with those. I know some people like hit me up and like, why didn't you tell your colleagues this or that? And it's like, brother, I show up on weekends and weeknights and just watch whatever games I'm assigned and write what they, suggest that, the priority match, etc. So happy for them. But I think they have, the players have bigger things to be concerned about. And, just thrilled to see that they're getting some recognition, even if it's at the micro level versus the macro level.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael says, never load again, but I found you guys anyway. Thanks for joining us, Michael. And yeah, I think Valerie actually had the same issue where I think she had to like turn off the bell and then return on the bell, and then she was getting notifications again. I don't know why YouTube does that, but glad you found us tonight, Michael. Jarrett says, finally caught a live show again. Thank you, Jarrett, for
Hey,
joining
Jared.
us. Evan said, ref kept his whistle in his mouth all game, couldn't stand the stop and go all night. And then Michael also says Ty Baribo didn't get into the starting 11 because of Messi. Yeah, you're probably right. I think Messi finally won his first team of the match day honors for his 2 goals, 1 assist last night against Montreal. So I would fully expect Messi to also win goal of the week or whatever they call it once again. So unfortunately, the people in Bangladesh couldn't help skew it for Quinn Sullivan. And with Messi, his fans just seeming to be a little bit more powerful than the whole nation of Bangladesh. But the other piece of news that I wanted to talk about, Jose, and I didn't have this on the show notes, and that is something that you had broke a couple weeks ago. Maybe it's been more than a couple weeks, but that is Malik Jakupovic. Am I saying that right? Jakupovic?
I've never heard it pronounced, but I
We'll
just
go with it. I know it's Malik.
I
I
go
know the
with it. I
first
just
name
call
is
him
Malik.
MJ.
MJ, yeah, that works. Well, he becomes the 10th Academy player to sign an MLS Next Pro deal, and this is a huge get for the Philadelphia Union. And I don't know how many people in the fan base realize how big of a deal this is. I remember Tom Bogert confirmed your reporting a few weeks ago and said, "Yeah, there was interest from Frankfurt. I'm not asking you if that's true or not, Jose, but this is a big deal. This is a really, really big deal for the Union to get a huge striker to say, look, I'm committing to the process." I mean, you and I always bust on the Union way and what it stands for and everything. But now this is a big deal. You get a huge prospect to commit to your system. That deal is eventually going to convert to a homegrown contract, as you reported a few weeks ago. But yeah, I guess now that it's official, it feels good to once again see your work become official. Not saying that, yeah, you had any doubt in this, but it is nice to get confirmation from the club that, yep, here it is. It's official. We couldn't post it when Jose broke it, but here it is. And yeah, this is a big hit for the Union.
I don't deal with rumor and speculation. I only deal with what I know is true and will happen. So yeah, no. Shane was kind enough to give us the pronunciation Malik Jakupovic. Happy for him. I was asked during my reporting not to mention the clubs from abroad that were interested in him and fighting for him. Obviously, Tom, on the other hand, I don't know what his conversations were with his sources, but he felt free to post them, and that's okay. But all that to just say that there was international interest, some serious international interest that developed as Malik was just tearing it up at different tournaments across the country and just doing so well that it was a matter of time for him to make a decision, right? Does he want to stay within the US? Does he want to go abroad? And ultimately he made the decision and is putting some eggs on the basket of the Philadelphia Union. And I think that's where you saw some shifting and moving of other talent from the academy, maybe depart. I think it was pretty clear for Anissa Saidi. I believe that's how you say his name. He obviously went on to San Diego, has already made his debut with the expansion club this year. And then also Peyton Preston, who departed after the GA Cup out of the U18 group and now is playing with the Switchbacks Academy. And as I understand it, should be joining the first team in USL for practice here sooner rather than later once he gets his body under control in terms of the elevation, right? That sudden shift to go from Pennsylvania to Colorado can be pretty serious if you're there long enough. For me, I think when I was there a couple of months ago, Todd, I was there for all of like not even 24 hours. So I was fine. But if you're there a little bit longer, you feel it pretty quickly, especially when you start trotting around town and walking around Denver. So total aside, and I apologize, but no, excited to see this player stick around. I don't know anything, and I think we'll talk about the Atlas friendly in June, or just mention it a little bit, but I would not be shocked if he sees some game time there for sure, as that, roster will be, I don't know if decimated's the right word, but it'll be a very interesting roster that will be available, but eager to see him get some minutes now as a professional, and that homegrown deal should trigger January 1, I believe.
Yeah, and then you also had the Union transferring the MLS rights of Diego to Real Salt Lake. I forget his last name. Diego.
Rocio.
Yeah, there we go. Rocio.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, look, there's talent in the Union's academy. We all know that, and there's just not enough space on the roster for everybody. And so sometimes you got to move guys on, and sometimes you get two good enough deals, and you unfortunately can't sign everybody to MLS Next Pro deals and homegrown deals. So the Philadelphia Union get a big signing in Malik, and yeah, hopefully that would be interesting to see him play against Atlas at this friendly that Jose and I were talking about towards the end of the show. But as Jose's on the phone, maybe he's breaking news. Maybe he'll have breaking news for us. Who knows? But we do want to go ahead and switch gears over to last night's Toronto FC Philadelphia Union match. Like I've said a couple times here, the Philadelphia Union come back and win 2-1. You have Nathan Harriel, Kai Wagner scoring the goals for the Union, with Ola and Brian Hildson scoring the lone goal for Toronto last night. And it's interesting, right, Jose? We finally see Andre Blake in goal. Makes 3 saves last night, I think. Andre Blake, not much he could have done on the first goal that Toronto scored, but yeah, good to see Andre Blake back in the net once again for the Union.
And passing the ball around, which was nice to see. And I can't recall, did he take goal kicks?
Yes.
Were there really?
Yes.
Okay, he did? Okay. I couldn't even recall.
That's what led to his save on Osorio. And the reason I know this, I just looked at that clip because before we went live, I finished up doing the goals breakdown video. So after you guys listen to the podcast, the goals breakdown video will be live on YouTube. So just give it like 10 minutes and then go check out the video. But anyway, you were saying.
Plug. But no, Andre looks serviceable, and to be fair, he didn't really have much to do in a game that felt pretty lopsided. Yeah, 3 saves and 1 goal conceded, and that goal was roofed, I think is probably the best way to describe it, where I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce the dude's last name, Brynhildsen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Went on to just crush it, but we can talk about the goal later, but Blake, glad to see him back. Obviously a Union legend, but I don't want to skip over the fact that Andrew Rick unbelievably did unbelievably well, extremely serviceable during this, 5-6 match stint of just getting start over starts, and sure, very few clean sheets, if anything, just 1, if I recall, maybe during that time period. And that's okay. What matters in a way is that they went on the month unbeaten just about. And yeah, they did go the month unbeaten, right? So far. Yeah. And he's continuing to gain experience, and make no mistake, he is genuinely only 19, getting some serious time at the MLS level. So I will continue to beat this drum. I think that the Union maybe have a decision to make here in terms of what happens with Andre versus what happens with Rick here in the next, certainly come January when you flip the league year over. But Andrew, at his age, can't be
on the
backup.
bench. No.
cannot be a backup considering what he showed during the 6 matches, and certainly more as Andre, I'm sure, though not officially announced, will be part of the Gold Cup roster here for Jamaica. And I just don't know what he really gains, meaning Rick, out of MLS Next Pro anymore. I think he's very much what Marlon LeBlanc used to say to us, or Jimmy Curtin would say to us too, of like, he's graduated, right? When you talk about the Raffanellos
But
and
it's
some
the
of those
same
other
like
guys.
Matt Freese, right? He was too good to play in MLS Next Pro. He was too good to sit behind Andre Blake. And so the Union had to make that unfortunate decision, do what's best for his career and trade him to New York City. I don't think the Union are going to trade Andrew Rick. You're send him out on loan because Andre Blake's contract runs through 2026 with an option for 2027. But you're right. Andrew Rick doesn't deserve to be playing MLS Next Pro anymore. He's too good for the league and doesn't deserve to be sitting behind Andre Blake because it hurts his development.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a young guy who just made the under 19 roster, right, for an international window with Andrew Rick. So is he a sure starter for the U.S. under 19? I think he would like that to be the fact, and become sort of a standard there with that group and continue to grow along. And I just, for my, for the club, I would think that they would be extremely proud, but would also not want this to happen, right? To add Andrew Rick to the list of of number 2 goalkeepers who went on to be number 1 somewhere else, right? Like Matt Freese.
John McCarthy, you had God, dude, this so pissed because he's a former Maryland goalkeeper. Zach McMath,
Zach McMath, and then even think about what we sort of pieced
Carlos
together.
Cornell, kindly too, in the Red Bulls.
Yeah, and I mean, think about what we pieced together when we were at New York City and we were sitting there and just looking at the rosters. Like every single goalkeeper out of the 3 were a Union connection with Matt Freese, Greg Van Sing, I think. I can't remember.
Van Jensen, yep.
Yeah, and then Romero, who was in a Union too, I guess, Bethlehem Steel. So like the Union have an incredible record of creating goalkeepers. It's just that Andre Blake has been that good over the years. But now that maybe, and I'm not trying to retire the guy by any stretch of the imagination, no drafts sitting in my inbox or anything like that. But as you start thinking about the twilight years of Andre Blake, you got to start thinking, what is the succession plan? And I'm really intrigued, and this is actually something I didn't think about. How well does Andrew Rick adjust to his body here in the next 6 to 12 months, right? Where he could have a growth spurt. I mean, he is only 19.
And it seemed like he got even taller over the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, from seeing him from Union 2 games in the playoffs to seeing him, I haven't been to Subaru Park as much as you and others, but it feels like my eyes just continue to go when I talk to him, right? And for the listeners, my eyes are scrolling up. I'm sorry, I forgot this is also an audio version, but yeah, no, he gets bigger and bigger. So I don't know. I think it's a good problem and one that the Union want to work through, but I hope that I hope it resolves itself into having the younger goalkeeper maybe take precedent.
Yeah, I agree. You're not going to find any argument from me. It is also worth pointing out last night that the Union, there was their first win in Toronto since 2019. So they had to dig deep, very, very deep last night, get 2 goals late on in the game. And I guess that is a pretty good segue to go into the Union's form in the final 15 minutes of games. They're tied with LAFC for most goals, 10 minutes. The Union are also tied with Atlanta for most points gained in the final 15 minutes with 9. Last show, I talked about it against Miami. It's disappointing. It's unfortunate that the Union gave up that late goal to into Miami, and it is what it is, right? Did the same thing against Columbus, and you and I talked about that. And yeah, there might be a little bit of disappointment that the Union were in that game against Columbus, in that game against Inter Miami, teams that I would say are, okay, maybe not on the standings above the Union, but these are teams that are going to be fighting for a top 4 playoff spot all season long. I would say these are the teams that, if the Union do make the playoffs, if they do advance deep in the playoffs, they're probably going to come up against one of these teams. And so, yeah, it's disappointing seeing that the Union drop points late in both games. But at the same time, Jose, they're showing a fight. They're showing a willingness that you didn't really get last year out of this team. I mean, think about it. this is a game they probably lose if this is them last year against Toronto. I mean, hell, they did lose last year to Toronto. The Union had been terrible. 2019 is the last win that the Union had in Toronto. And to score 2 goals in the final 5 minutes of this game, I mean, it's unbelievable. And yes, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate when you concede goals, but Bradley Cornell had said after Miami that, look, it's soccer. This is a part of life. You score some goals in extra time that are going to win you games. You concede some goals that are going to lose you games or make you draw. And so you just hope that those mistakes you make, you correct them come playoff time. And it is good to see the Philadelphia Union showing fight, showing belief. And this is what Bradley Cornell had to say after the game about the Union's mentality, just coming back and earning all 3 points against Toronto.
Yeah, I just think on a night where we feel that we didn't skip a heartbeat, like a moment, right? So, and then we do give up the one and be like, oh man, this sucks, right? So to find a way to come back in, but we know we have an organized structure of how we want to do things. And if you believe in that process and believe in that structure, we might have not won the game tonight. We might have lost 1-0, and I would have sat here and said I was really happy with the performance because I really was believing and feeling that we were in control of the whole game and the outcome of the game. So, sometimes you can't control everything and you might lose 1-0, but once you get that one look and, they gave us the one set piece, but it's the energy of the guys who came in. It's the belief. It's again, it's just a whole new sort of reset of the press and the pressure and everything. So then we get the set piece and all of a sudden, the dominoes start falling in our favor. And, the harder we were working, the more we were creating. So, yeah.
All right, so we'll talk about set pieces here in a bit. So I don't want to really focus on that too much because you had asked Bradley Cornell a good question about set pieces last night. But he's right. I mean, you see the belief, you see the fight, and it's been evident in all 16 games that this is a team that's not going to lay down to anybody.
No, and it's a team that's going to fight. And yeah, it was ugly. It was unbelievably ugly, as we sort of referenced to earlier, but they were able to sort it out. And unfortunately, it took for them to be behind to go on to win it versus being ahead and try to keep the win, unlike, Miami and Columbus. So I agree with Bradley in a sense. And I think he also spoke about whether it was that question or a different question where, he was actually very satisfied with the performance. And that was interesting to me because I thought he would have been more critical about the passing, where it was just all over the place and players were just, and I don't want to, chalk it up to fitness or fatigue or anything, but it was pretty obvious that something was
passes. 69. I didn't realize it was that low.
Yeah. So it was not great. So yeah, I don't know what else to add there.
Yeah, Michael says passing was awful last night. Mike Barrera seems really excited. He says, Todd rocking a Phil's shirt. And then he put the same comment, Todd rocking a Phil's shirt. So I think Mike's just completely shocked that I'm wearing a Phillies t-shirt. Yeah, I mean, go Phils, right? Gotta support another Philadelphia team. I mean, the Orioles are having such a bad season. So not saying I'm coming on the bandwagon. Don't want to cause you guys pain and everything. You guys are having a great season in Philadelphia, but man, it is tough being a Philadelphia fan, as you guys all know. And so I don't want to bring the bad mojo that it's been the 2025 Baltimore Orioles season to you guys. So yeah, I am rocking a Philly shirt, but I'm not going to hop on the bandwagon for your guys' sake because I don't want to be the blame for if things go wrong for the Phillies this season. Michael says, hard to mark both Glesnes and Nate. Great work on the set piece. Again, we'll talk about that. Jarrett says, Nate with the crazy bunnies. Again, yeah, we'll talk about set pieces here.
It's such a Gen Z way to describe it.
With the bunnies. Yeah, again, we'll talk about set pieces because they were huge for the Union, but yeah, it is. I guess it is soccer, right, Jose, where you're going to concede some goals later on in games and then you're going to get goals. And again, if this is last year's team, there's no way they win this game 1-0. Bradley Cornell said, if I was sitting here talking to you guys and we lost 1-0, I still would have been happy with that performance. And yeah, I do think, and maybe more so me than you on this show, complaining about the lack of chance creation by the Union we've seen, but yet they find ways to win games. And last night wasn't a lack of chance creation. I mean, you and I had a phone conversation earlier in the day about that chance for Bruno Damiani in the 12th minute. If he scores that, that's going to do so much for his confidence and just the way he attacks the ball. He's doing so much off the ball, and he just can't buy a goal that's not a penalty kick. And still, I mean, you see the chances created by Kai Wagner out wide. You see the underlapping runs from Indiana Vasilov, Quinn Sullivan, just creating space. And the Union have been creating more chances here the last couple weeks. And yeah, Bruno Damiani is not able to put that one in the back of the net. Jesus Bueno had a chance to put the Union up 1-0 right before the half, which is a fantastic run by him to get him to the end of a Kai Wagner cross there at the back post and puts it on target. First time volley attempt and keeps it low. And it's a good save by Sean Johnson. But yeah, I mean, this team, they don't die. They don't give up. And I'm fortunate to go into the half tied 0-0. And credit to the Union. They leave it late, but they take advantage of set piece opportunities. And they take advantage of a poor clearance attempt by Toronto. And since everybody keeps talking about set pieces, let's go ahead and talk about it. The Union lead MLS in set pieces with 12 goals. I don't think that's a shock to people just watching them score all these set pieces. 3 set pieces in the last 2 games. You get 2 against Miami, 1 last night against Toronto. But the thing, and credit to you, Jose, for doing this work, since 2021, and why 2021? Well, that's when set piece coach, assistant manager Frank Leich was appointed as Jim Curtin's assistant coach. And since his appointment, 79 set pieces in all competition for the Union. 79 set pieces in 4 years and a couple months. That is absurd. 79.
I kept on doing the math on my phone and just like double checking. And I would, we're fortunate now with calculators, or I guess I never owned a calculator until I was in high school that had like the function to see what you're actually adding and the total number. So I kept on thinking, did I double type like a 15? Did I double type a 12 or something like that? But no, 79 goals coming off of set pieces since 2021 is an absurd number, where some teams, for them, sometimes it takes 2 years to score that total, right? In terms of like total goals scored. Yeah. So like it's unbelievable. And I think it goes on to show and I guess illustrate, the times I've been to practice, which is I think like once or twice. And I wish I could show up more. I really do.
It's difficult.
It's tough, especially when you have a full-time job, et cetera, et cetera. Don't have to dive too deep into that. But the times I've been to practice, I can't tell you, like, I think they spend like 25, 30 minutes just doing set pieces and crosses and different things to sort of work on them. And I'm glad to see that that's a through line between administrations per se, between the Jim Curtin administration and the Bradley Cornell administration. Set pieces continue to be extremely relevant to the way that this club plays and the way that this club will be successful. Which even for an awful year as it was last year, if I recall, Todd, I think they finished with 11 or 13 set pieces last year alone. 19 goals out of set pieces.
And they're
at
at 12 right now with only at 16 games. So not even at the halfway mark, and they have 12 goals. Insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be fair, though, last year was not an issue of scoring. It was an issue of keeping them out. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that they kept pace. But for Cornell to have this emphasis, and it almost makes me wonder do you consider a throw in a set piece?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Okay. Then maybe they should bring our friend Mark.
Mark.
Groner Mark?
Oh, yeah. Thomas.
Sorry. Thomas, whatever. Thomas, grown Mark to come and do some set piece work with him. Olive, stop. My dog is being crazy.
Yeah, I should send him some throw-ins on the game. Or, I don't know, you do a good job recording clips too. Just send him a whole bunch of throw-ins and be like, hey, hit up Ernst Tanner and say, hey, look, I can work with this. I can improve it. Yeah, you guys have scored 12 set piece goals this season, but I can make that number a little bit higher. And he loves Philadelphia. Every time I talk to him, he's like, oh, the history. I love history. And Philadelphia is such a historic city. I would love to come back. Like, the dude loves Philadelphia. And so
I think the time I interviewed him, he was wearing his Union gear on purpose. Just because, of course, like, I get it. He loves it. He loved his time there. But yeah, I'm just amazed, and to have 12 through 16 matches, and I guess one more match genuinely brings it to the halfway point, right? So 17 out of 34. Is that 34 matches on the season. Yep. So I would not be surprised if they go on and not defeat, but surpass, I guess, all of last year's total and eclipse it. So no, I think Frank has done an incredible work, and it makes you wonder what his aspirations are.
Absolutely, Jose. We got to bring up this comment there. You gotta address this. Domesticated Hoagie says, "Is Jose beating his dog?" She says, "Dog abuse."
I think she's perfectly happy. Look at that tongue.
Yeah, she just wants to play.
Yeah,
Jose's
she's still a puppy.
home along, home alone. The dog wants his attention. There's no beating of the dogs going on. Come on, domesticated Hoagie. It's how
Yeah,
you
I don't
get-
know what
it's how you get
goes on
people's-
in your home, domesticated Hoagie, but no abuse in mine.
Yeah, come on. That's how you get people's animals taken away. God. But yeah, Frank Like's been a godsend for the Union. And Jarrett said a little while ago, he said that set piece coach deserves so much praise. Well, speaking of praise, Jose gave Bradley Cornell the opportunity to sing his praises last night. And this is what Bradley Cornell had to say on Frank Like's job with the Union.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think everybody's chipped in. Last week was, you rightly gave me the platform for the medical staff, right? And then, Frankie, I think we or I, at St. Louis or at the Red Bulls, I think we've been very successful at set pieces as well. So I think it's been a marriage of two different ideas, but with very similar results. So, we come in here and, Frankie has a set way of working. But then to find the moment that works for us both, and we know the delivery of Quinn, Indy, Kai, there's just so many. And then we've got, unassuming headers of the ball, like, Frankie, Nate, and then all the rest of them. Ty Baribo has got great timing in the air. So we have options, and we're pretty creative with the way we use them. But, nothing beats a good set piece delivery on the quality and the execution, and nothing beats the timing of the runs. So, and Frank is, we dedicate a lot of the time to it. We believe 30% of our goals should come from set pieces. I think we're trending a little bit higher than that this season, but we'll take it.
Yeah, and so Mike had asked, he said, what is the ratio for open play goals / set piece goals / PKs this year? So I can give you those totals right here. So the Union have scored 32 goals in MLS this season, 18 goals from open play, 1 counterattack goal, 12 set piece goals, 1 penalty kick scored. And Frank, Jesus Christ, so many names. Bradley Cornell had said 30%, and he said, I think we're above that right now. Yeah, they are. That 37% of their goals have been scored from set pieces this season. So, yeah, that is just fantastic work. And Bradley talks about St. Louis there. When you look in 2023, they had 15 set piece goals scored. Last season, they had 10. Currently, they're at 3. So, yeah, obviously getting rid of Bradley Cornell has affected their set pieces. And we saw Olaf Melberg get fired this past weekend by St. Louis City for just a horrible season St. Louis is having. But yeah, I mean, Bradley Cornell, okay, right. He's going to respect Frank Like. He said, we don't look at them the same totally, but we can work together. We can get along, and 12 goals on the season off of set pieces. I mean, that is fantastic for the Union. 37% of your goals come off of set pieces. I mean, that is absurd. And you had said it, Jose. 19 goals last year for the Union on set pieces, 16 games in, 12. I mean, if they keep this up, they're going to blow past that record.
Yeah, and it's not. It's they could go on a huge drought here, and that's okay too. But the fact remains that the damage has been done so far, and if the ratio or the rule of ratios continues, like at 30%, like they should be very close to it, if not on the mark, should the season continue. But it's all dependent on whether injuries come in, situational, weather, etc. So no, I think all in all, it's just Frank giving him his flowers. I promise I'm done giving Bradley Cornell a platform to congratulate people and thank people. I will go back to more normal questioning, because I don't need him reminding me of like, well, you gave me a platform last week, and I guess you're giving me another one this week. It's like, okay, brother, I will not do that again. Thank you. I appreciate you, but yeah, Frank deserves it. I think a lot of these names that people don't really even recognize or see often are the ones who are making the biggest difference within the club. And yes, there's 11 on the field, whatever, on the bench, and that are players, and Bradley Cornell, but there's a ton of other people that make the Union work and tick and talk. So I just want to make sure that they get the notice that they deserve.
Yeah, and Michael says aside from our goalie, I think every starter has scored a goal, right? Maybe not Makanya yet. Yeah, and that's correct. The Union have 13 different goal scorers this season, which is crazy. 16 games in, you've had 13 different goal scorers. Look, we've talked about that a couple times on the show, Jose, where people just step up. When the strikers aren't scoring, when they can't find the back of the net, you get goals from your center backs, you get it from your fullbacks, you get it from your defensive midfielders. I mean, Danley, John Jock, Jovan Lukic, you would have thought those guys would have scored goals, and two bangers from Jovan Lukic. And yeah, I mean, this is a team that's completely brought into how Bradley Cornell wants to play, that the tactics and how they want to approach games. This is a team that's not thinking twice. They're just going out there executing the game plan. And as Bradley Cornell had said in that clip there a little bit ago, it's just he's happy with the way that the game plan's going and the players are executing. And even if they would have lost this game, he still would have been happy with the performance. And there is one thing too, I want your opinion on. Evan says, I don't know if this is a hot take other than the bicycle attempt. I thought Bruno Damiani was a non-factor all game. He was just like a wrecking ball, hitting players and not getting the ball, a lot of running. And I think I saw a comment from Michael as well that said that he didn't think Bruno had his best game. How would you assess Bruno Damiani's, I almost said season, his game last night against Toronto, Jose?
I think a lot of players had rough nights last night, Bruno was probably one of the worst. And yeah, I think he was doing what his game is, which is being physical, trying to hold the ball, trying to find other people and do what he does best by bringing others in. Are the goals avoiding him? Absolutely. I mean, that save from Sean Johnson is, I guess there's worldies. I don't know what you call a worldy save, but that was just an unbelievable save that he came up with. And I would argue that who asked that question? Was it Evan?
Yeah, Evan. Yep.
Evan, should that shot had gone in, your question would be unbelievably irrelevant, right? Like you would not have thought twice about his performance if that goal goes in. So when you look at the whole body of work over the 90, though he played 67, yeah, I think it's fair to say that he had a rough game, but I still think that there's so much that he does that doesn't go noticed, much like, I know, Todd, you and I noticed it, but like Mikel Ua against Miami, that sprint across the entire box beating two Miami defenders.
Yep.
And I don't even think he got the assist for that, or maybe he did. I could be wrong.
He got the assist. Yep.
Okay, he got the assist. So going across the entire six, beating two defenders and just leveraging his body to pass the ball to Bariba, who went on to score it, is work rate. It's something that doesn't go into a score sheet. And I think, Evan, you're on the right track of the way that you're doing your eye test. But I think that there's also a lot that you may be missing, or maybe I'm missing it, or maybe I'm overvaluing. So reasonable minds can defer. I'm still happy to see him on the field because I know that he's probably going to win 95% of air balls, right? With his headers, he's going to hold the ball well and he's going to try to distribute it. So it's, you got to take the good with the bad. And I think this game for a lot of players was more bad than good, honestly.
Yeah, it's looking at his aerials last night, 4 out of 8 aerial attempts won for Bruno. So even there, he wasn't his normal self, winning, I feel like you said, at least 90% of his battles every single game. So only winning 50%. Definitely wasn't his best game last night. But yeah, I mean, hold up play, making it physical in the back for the center backs for Toronto and making those runs to try to open up space. Yeah, I think it was just doing all the little stuff well for Bruno. But of course, right, you bring him in to score goals and not do that stuff. And it's the same complaint people have with Mikel Ua, right? But at the same time, coming here from Jarrett says the unsung hero. So when your strikers aren't scoring goals, you have other players that are stepping up and just working just as hard. Dan says Bruno working hard, getting into position, hold up play, work rate, etc. Michael says he still has an incredible engine even on his off night, 100%. Shaggy says, yo, it's such a shame some of Bruno's shots on goal produces the greatest of saves from keepers. I love Bruno, and I feel like he is right there. The floodgates are going to open soon. I agree 100%. He's getting in the right positions. Jarrett says, and he drags defenders out of position for other players to take the space, 100%. Evan says, I think if that ball goes into the goal, that's goal of the week, absolutely. Michael once again says, even if Bruno made that bicycle kick, Messi would have still got goal of the match day. Yeah, probably. The Messi fanboys aren't going to let anybody ever win if it's Messi up for an award. So yeah, we shall see what the coming weeks look like for Bruno Damiani, but I'm happy with what I've seen. Mandy says still prefer Bruno and Ur together versus Bruno and Ty. I agree with that 100%. That's why I think, if the Union don't bring back Mikael Ur next season, they've got to look for a striker that can make those runs in behind, because the Union frankly don't have that striker on this roster. And no offense to Chris Donovan, no offense to Marcus Anderson, but that guy that does what Mikael Ur does just isn't currently on the roster if you don't bring back Mikael Ur. Would love for him to come back, but it's got to be a TAM deal. Not sure that he would take that, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But the last thing, Jose, I do want to ask you another question, and I'll pose this to you guys, the listeners. A lot of you guys listen to this podcast live every single week. I appreciate it. The comments have been fantastic tonight. Keep them up. But do you, Jose, are the Union building something special? And I thought about this all day at work. I knew I was going to bring this up asking you, but man, I'm really hesitant to say yes. But this does, Jose. It does feel like a special team. 16 games in. And maybe part of that hesitation for me not wanting to say yes right away is because this is the type of game that the Union would have lost last year. How many games did we see the Union lose or draw that they should have had all 3 points in? Too many to count. I still have PTSD. I mention it every single podcast, the Chicago Fire game. I mean, I should probably speak to somebody about that, because I will never, ever, ever get that 3-1 lead out of my mind. It's a horrible game in Chicago. But yeah, I am a little bit hesitant to say yes, that this team is special. But to go on, Jose, score 2 goals in 5 minutes and win that game, this is a team that has so much confidence, and we know what confidence does for a team. Look no further than the 2022 team.
I maybe will be bold enough to say that, yeah, they are building something special. And I think I've sort of known it. And maybe because I'm privileged to have some connections that share information with me in a way where from the get-go, it's been very clear and apparent, at least via intermediaries to me, that the club as a whole has been thoroughly buying into the way that Cornell wants to function, the way that Cornell wants this team to hum, his pragmatic nature and understanding, watching, listening, tweaking, etc., and just being very clear about his vision, and having the backing of Ernst Tanner has helped miles. But I think you would be a clear yes should they have won against Miami or Columbus, one of the two. If both, and you would have said yes after the very early one against Columbus. So I think that it is something special. I don't think that this is I don't think this is a play where they go on now. I guess they're technically 4 points away from totaling all of last year's point total, which is unbelievable, right? So I don't think that this is where they reach 37 and then they just hang up the boots and leave. I think the international windows coming up will make it really interesting, especially the ones that they actually play through. But all in all, I would say yes. I think that the work that will be done over the summer in terms of recruitment could really make the difference, but also I'm really intrigued, and I have no information. I'm not breaking anything, but I wonder if this run of success, especially this month, has sort of tweaked the idea behind how they approach the summer window in terms of departures, where maybe they think twice, maybe 3 times before letting go of a guy that they would have otherwise let go should they have had 3 losses or 4 losses in the month of May, right? Out of all these out of this crazy schedule. So I'm a firm yes that this is a special. Is it going to be 2022 all over again? I don't think so. I don't think that this is a Union group that can go and put 5 and 6 and then 5 again. I don't think they played DC United enough, and they certainly get into playing some tougher teams here. But they are obviously playing who's in front of them, and that's what all they can do. But I do think that there is a feeling across the fan base and certainly with the press where we are asking these questions, right? And who would have thunk that these questions would be asked at this point in the season during the offseason, right? I think that just shows the way that the expectations have elevated as Cornell has sort of molded or manipulated this team into what he wants it to be, and it's hard to argue with the man. I will maybe shake my head at some substitution patterns or the decisions of some substitutions, and when it feels like the team is curling up into a ball to defend versus, maybe keeping up and keeping going in terms of the offensive cadence versus, like I said, defending the last couple of 15, 20 minutes. It's just, I do believe that this is a special year, and I'm eager to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, and Michael agrees to you about your point with the summer times. He says, I think if we bring some talent in over the summer, then yes, this is a special team that the Union are building. Domesticated Hoagie says right away, yes, in all capital letters. You have Mandy saying it's the Philly team PTSD. None of us want to admit this could be the year. Domesticated Hoagie says, are you guys having fun? I'm having fun. Valerie chimes in, says fun. Domesticated Hoagie says, I am ready to get hurt again. Mandy says, I was ready to be hurt this whole season. Dan says, I'm with Hoagie. Hurt me again, please. Everyone brings up an interesting stat here. 528, 25, 33 points for the Union. First place in the Supporters Shield standings. Union, 33 points last year on September 18th, 2024. Way ahead of schedule, Evan says.
That's fucking nuts. I'm sorry to curse, but that is unbelievable.
I mean, that tells you how bad the season was last year.
Yeah.
I mean, so bad, right? Maybe that should be Blunder of the Week, just how bad that 2024 team was. I mean, oh my God, just so terrible. Maybe I should definitely change it up. But yeah, you
have a runner-up for Blunder of the Week.
Yeah, you have a runner-up? Maybe we should discuss this.
All right. Well, my runner-up for Blunder.
Let's save it. Let's save it for Blunder of the Week. Let's save it because we're going to pull it up here in a second. Don't lose it. You're not going to lose it, right?
I jotted it down actually because I knew I would lose it otherwise.
All right, cool. So we'll bring that up. But you had asked Bradley Cornell during the before this game on Monday, I believe it was. I didn't even know there was a press conference on Memorial Day, and you guys are talking about a press conference, and I'm like, there's a press conference going on. You're like, yeah, I think it was just you and Jillian who showed up. Maybe Jonathan Tannenwald. I can't remember. But not many people attended that. And not many people attended last night's press conference either. And shout out to all the people that show up weekly. But you had asked Bradley Cornell, with this busy schedule in May, Union remain undefeated. A lot of that credit has to go to the backroom staff, all the trainers, all the medical department. And this is Bradley Cornell singing their praises.
Thanks, Jose, for that platform. I mean, yeah, listen, everyone, I kind of make the joke, when you look at the league table and when you look at something that's something really special brewing, and everyone just thinks that it automatically happens, right? So I make the joke always, we leave at home and, I know my staff, the technical staff, they go home, open up their laptops again, right? And we'll say like the elves come at midnight and sprinkle the fairy dust, and then eventually you wake up in the morning and the product is finished, right? So, and then we present to the players, and Marissa's getting all the hydration and the testing and all those samples ready for the players when they walk in, that, they don't skip a beat in their daily routine. And then Ryan Cotter, Vince McCluskey, Brad Papson, Paulie, we can all go around the horn there that everybody, I get here very early and everyone's here already. So, everyone has just committed to the cause. And when you commit to something as a staff bigger than yourself, and commit to the togetherness of the group, I think the group feeds off of that and says, wow, look at the staff. They're totally engulfed and encompassed in what we are doing. And the player is the most important thing. Just to give them the platform. So yeah, I'm forever grateful, and that's a standard that we are setting, and we have to uphold those standards and hold ourselves accountable to those standards. And yeah, listen, it's easy when it's going well, and we were fairly critical as a group in today's meetings and videos and everything, because we feel like the more you can challenge in these successful moments, the stronger you'll be in challenging moments, Jose. So I think there's a lot of good spirit going around the camp, but it's also critical, and it's also we find ways to challenge each other as a staff as well as the players.
And Bradley Cornell, I mean, talking about how special it is right there with just getting the commitment from everybody, people behind the scenes, people that majority of this fan base don't even know existed. And I got to say, since getting into the whole media sphere, I didn't really know exactly what all goes into a professional sports organization, right? I mean, so many fans and there's media people alike too that show up to the games and then after the whistle, they head home. But you look at all the work that goes on before the game, the people that are setting up the scoreboard with all the graphics, all the stats, all the fun games, what have you, the people that are inside the stadium, emceeing the games, creating that atmosphere. And then after the game, we get access to looking on what goes on behind the scenes with Marissa bringing out all the food and everything for the players and everything. And there's guys that are so happy when they're grabbing pizzas, or sometimes they have Chick-fil-A back then. I'm like, wow, this is what you can eat as professional athletes. Like, why am I not a professional athlete? But yeah, I mean, it really opens your eyes to just every little detail. All these, they're not small people, but on the grand scheme of things, people would say, yeah, they're not that big of a figure in the organization, but there are so many people that do so much for this organization. And Bradley Cornell talking about how he gets to the stadium early before game day, before training sessions, and the staff's already there. And that's a testament to the commitment that these guys have to the players. And Bradley Cornell mentions that, we're doing all this for the players, getting them to be the best they can. But I also want to give a shout out to Jim Curtin. Much of this coaching staff is still in place from when Jim Curtin was the head coach. And that starts with Jim Curtin, right? Getting the buy-in from every single person in that organization. And you don't want to tear everything down when you bring in a new head coach, but a big part of what was built here in Philadelphia was built because of Jim Curtin. And credit to the people still in the organization from Jim's tenure that, okay, it's a new head coach, a new boss, things are going to be a little bit different. But having the respect and still being able to work one-on-one with Bradley Cornell and doing what's best, like Bradley said, for the players, seeing this complete buy-in, it's beautiful to see. And like I had said, it's really opened my eyes working in the media sphere, just seeing how much goes into creating a professional organization.
Yeah, and I think you illustrated it best, right? Especially when we go into the locker room area, the boot room, whatever you want to call it. But like you see Marissa out there just like hustling to get the Gatorades for the guys, or like whatever their special drink mixtures are. And then you see the Cotters of the world come in and out, and even during the game, go to the corner, make sure that the guys are warmed up and ready. And obviously all the work that goes into planning practices and load management, the Trocheos of the world that make sure that if there is an injury or there is a concern of too many minutes or potential muscle injuries, he's there to help out, etc. So I know the saying is like, it takes a village. And I think our very own Shane, who was watching and mentioned to us how to pronounce, he actually works, if I recall, security or some security role at the stadium. Like, even he has a part to play in all of it all. But, Cornell, in this specific topic, just being very open, and I think unexpectedly asked to praise his, I don't want to say unexpectedly asked to praise, I'm sure he praises them, but like, when it comes to getting in front of the media the way that, we are out there, like to give him put him in a position where he can say something positive about them is probably brings him a lot of joy. So I'm glad I asked the question. I'm glad that he responded the way he did. I didn't expect any different, but I was also pleasantly surprised at how well it went for him to talk about the staff that, again, do so much behind the scenes and often are not even blips in the radar of, the common Delco mom who drives in with the gigantic Subaru with 7 kids who just finished soccer practice type of thing.
Yeah, and Michael jokes and says, that's the most I've heard him talk at once. And that was almost a 2-minute long clip. And I agree. And Mandy says, really have enjoyed seeing Bradley opening up as the season goes on too. Seemed like he was a bit more reserved than Kurt in the beginning of the year.
Well, he still is.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely still is. But Jose hit a soft spot there and allowing Bradley Cornell to give praise to people that don't really get the praise. But yeah, I mean, it is great to see just so much buy-in. And I agree, Jose. I think this team, as much hesitation as I have, this is turning out to be a special season. And I know we're not even at the halfway point, one more game to go, but currently on a 9-game unbeaten streak in MLS, current 8-game unbeaten streak. The last time the Union had a streak this big, you have to go back to 2023, where they had a 9-game unbeaten streak. During this current 8-game one, the Union have 6 wins, 3 draws during that streak. Obviously, they drew against Indy 11, but won in penalties, and then beat Pittsburgh Riverhounds 4-1. So if you count those 2 games, then it's a current 10-game unbeaten streak in all competitions. But just focusing on the one in MLS, the 8, 19 goals scored, 9 goals conceded. 3 of those 9 goals were all against Miami. Beautiful goal by Messi, beautiful goal by Segovia. You had 3 clean sheets during this 8-game streak, and yeah, it's fantastic to see for the Union. It's really beautiful, and I said 6, it's 5 if I could count. It's a current 8-game winning streak. I guess I must have counted one of those U.S. Open Cup games, but 24 different players who they used in all competitions this season. You had Bradley Cornell talk about the training staff on Monday. He talks about the buy-in from them. 24 players. That is insane. Do you think Jim Curtin's using 24 players in this point in the season? Absolutely not. And so for the players to know that, hey, look, I have a head coach that trusts me, that believes in me. I'm going to get an opportunity. I may not start every game. I may get spot starts here and there. I may just play a minute. But knowing that the coach trusts me, sometimes he's going to play me out of position. Hello, David Vasquez. Look, this is something that I love Jim Curtin. I love what he's done for soccer in Philadelphia. But the biggest complaint, Jose, on both of our shows, on comments on Twitter is Jim doesn't sub. Jim needs to make substitutions more. Bradley Cornell, it's not an issue. And so, yeah, I'm hesitant to say this is special, but I'll say, yeah, this is going to be a special year. I really believe so, as much as I don't want to say. So before we get into the comment section, Jose has gone completely off the rails. I missed like 20 comments, so I'm not even going to try to pick up what they're talking about in the comments, whatever. Let's go ahead and talk about Blunder of the Week. So Blunder of the Week for me, we just sung the praises for the Philadelphia Union, which, they do deserve to have their praises spoken. But the Union did announce a friendly on, June 7th, I believe it is, next Saturday. Not this upcoming Saturday, but the following Saturday, against Atlas, Liga MX. And the prices are now out. And when you click for the cheapest prices, $58 for a friendly.
On the Union site.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, not good at all. $58 for a friendly? What are we doing here? What are we doing? As Taylor Twellman said on ESPN years ago when the U.S. Did not qualify for the World Cup back in 2014, I believe it was. 2014, right? When they lost to Trinidad and Tobago. But yeah,
it was 2018 because 2014 was Brazil.
Oh, yeah, right. It was Brazil. Yeah, 2018. I mean, time flies. But yeah, it's $58. What are we doing for a friendly? I have a question for people in the comments because I know some of you guys commented, went to the game against Wrexham. Do you guys remember how much tickets were for that? I could understand if you're charging $58 for a team that has all this media hype around them with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McInerney. But $58 for a team that you had just played in CONCACAF Champions Cup a few years ago, which tickets were nowhere close to that. This is a meaningless game with so many players going away on international duty. Like you had said at the beginning of the show, Jose, you wouldn't be surprised if Malik plays any part in this friendly against Atlas. $58 for the cheapest tickets. Nobody's going to pay that for a friendly. Come on now.
Well, I see the question from Shaggy McShackster. What a name. Certainly isn't real, I hope. Maybe it is. Congratulations. But Bradley mentioned or talked about this friendly coming up or sort of alluded to it. Whether it was one of my questions or someone else's, but like this was booked in there. Sure, I'm guessing some sort of financial part too, but the idea was to keep the rhythm of some of the guys that are not going away on international duty. So think of the Raffanellos, the Kolesnices of the world, and Bizo used to go with the national team quite a bit and no longer goes with the national team. I would think Bruno Damiani as well, but are they really going to take a part in this game against Atlas? I'm not quite sure if they will. I would probably envision that to be a ton of Union 2 players, and that's okay. But the reality is that to me, I if somebody wants to go. I think that's fantastic. Just make sure you check all websites for the best ticket price or the best solution for your financial situation, or hit up
Hoagie. She said she brought 12. So she has no problem paying for 12 tickets. Apparently, she said the union need the money, so she's more than willing to donate her paychecks to the Philadelphia Union. It seems like.
Yeah, no, and if you need tickets, reach out to Tim Halter. He'll probably get you sorted out, get you in the right spot at the right price that you need. So, yeah, Mandy, that's pretty telling, right? We haven't even been able to sell our tickets, so that's another sign, right? So I hope to be able to make it there. I don't think I have anything going on, and I am actually quite fond of when Spanish speaking or international competition comes to town. But I don't know how well this has been marketed to even the Union fan base, but B, outside of the Union fan base. I don't know that I've seen anything. Maybe maybe I saw a billboard coming off of work or coming. I don't know. I could have sworn I saw a billboard, but nonetheless, I'm intrigued that's the ticket price. But hey, if you can make it, I bless you, and I hope you get to enjoy it. I wonder if they will stream it or how they will stream it, Todd, because it's not an Apple game.
The Union's website, maybe?
Is it going to be a free stream, or are they going to ask us to pay?
I mean, if you're charging $58 for your cheapest tickets, they might force you to pay for the stream.
We were the idiots who gave AGF or whatever the hell that club was.
It was you, to be fair, and you gave me access, so I appreciate that. But
no, that's all right. No, but think about it. If they came out with some bullshit $8 fee to watch the game from home, I would pay it just to not have to. I mean, if I was a fan, I would pay it to not pay $58 and be at the stadium, honestly. But that also defeats the purpose of getting people in front of the beer and the chicken fingers and the burgers, etc. So I don't know. I'm intrigued to see how they come up with these solutions, and I'm also really intrigued to see how they go about filling up the stadium. We'll see.
Evan's plugging SeatGeek, says has 2 tickets in, 114 for $30 each. So
yeah, we were referring to the actual Union website, Evan. Like, this is the actual Union website, which I would guess that 80% of tickets bought come through there. I could be wrong. Maybe that's a question for a ticket rep. But I would think the majority of people go PhiladelphiaUnion.com to buy tickets versus going to StubHub or SeatGeek. And by the way, fuck StubHub. Someone hacked into my wife's account, bought Phillies tickets to the tune of like $300, $400, and StubHub refused to refund her. Despite
is that your blunder of the week?
And she didn't even go. The ticket sat unused in her phone, and then my ballpark app or whatever. So like StubHub was like, yeah, no, we're not. This was you. It's like, no, it wasn't. Hit it.
Yeah, not good.
Exactly. Yeah, not good.
Wow, that is crazy. It makes me not want to use StubHub anymore. Holy.
This household will not be using StubHub anymore. I can guarantee that. I deleted my accounts.
They don't want. Wow. Hoagie says hacked by Jose.
Wow. I can get to the Phillies without having to buy tickets nowadays. I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that.
What? They did not want to. Jesus Christ. Like, I might go and delete my app. That is really, really scary to hear.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, we're in a situation where we're okay, but I can think of a lot of other people who, if they get hit with $400 missing from their account suddenly, that's a very different conversation. So I don't know. I hope that never happens to anybody I know or we know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're an hour and 4 minutes into the show, Jose, and I'm good with wrapping it up here. Any last words you want to say?
Yeah, a couple of quick hitters. I want to give a huge congratulations to Nelson Pierre hitting his 10th goal of the MLS Next Pro season. Obviously, for those that are unaware, he's on loan from the Union over to the Vancouver Whitecaps too. Seems like he's finding his spot or where to thrive. Also, right before we started the show, the USA U20 squad was drawn into Group E for the upcoming U20 World Cup that's happening in Chile from September 27th through October 19th. So should Westfield get called up to represent the nation, he could be missing 4 matches from September 20th all the way through the 18th, assuming that the United States make it all the way to the final. All-star voting, make sure you go out if you want to put a roster full of Union players or put out a more honest roster with who you think should be an all-star this season. Make sure you do that. And my runner-up for Blunder of the Week was actually that the MLS's site suggestions for all-star voting for the attacking position mentioned everybody but Ty Baribo, the leading scorer, Golden Boot leader so far this year. Hit it.
Yeah, not good.
Wow, 2-1 share for you, Jose.
Ooh, I didn't even know what to say about that one. Interesting to not put the leader of the Golden Boot race as one of the people to potentially be an all-star this year. Congratulations to Leon Flock, 3rd place in the Polish league. Also a quarter finalist in the UEFA Europa League, I think, or one of the UEFA competitions. So a successful half year for him. And I would go ahead and say that his final year option will be picked up. So he has this coming year, the following, and then an option for a third. But so far as I've read as much translated Polish in different forums, the fans are very, very happy with him and they seem to like him. And then the final shout out I want to give out is not to someone I really spoke at all at the Union, but certainly did something very, very meaningful. Ali Gentile, I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. She did a lot of work with the Union through 7 or 8 years of time at the organization. She departs as the Senior Director of Community Relations, and where the program hits so close to home, and we've been fortunate to not have to use it yet, though we are on early stages of oncology appointments for my oldest, just some preventative care for potential childhood cancer that my son may have. She did a lot of work with the Fearless 43, which is really, really meaningful work to give children who have gone through or going through cancer diagnosis, giving them different opportunities to maybe put that in the back burner while they're going through these difficult times. So thank you, Mandy Gentile. Yeah. So I want to give her a shout out. Sounds like she's going to Texas. I know where she's going, at least I think, and not my place to share, but I never thought I would have to think about the Fearless 43, but as we work through a lot of that stuff with my oldest son and early childhood cancer, it's hitting closer to home than I ever wanted it to. So congratulations to her for doing a lot of really, really meaningful and impactful work here in Philadelphia. So I wish her the best, and I hope that the program continues to be as strong as before.
Yeah, absolutely. One last question from Dan Jose. He says, any ETA on Neil Peart coming back? I was going to say soon.
Yeah, I think it's soon, right? I haven't asked, to be completely honest with you. I do recall Kyle and Jillian Almany talking to Ryan Richter at some point or another, and I think the conversation led to he's coming back soon. I don't know that he's traveling to Dallas for this weekend's match, but I would wager that when the Union 2 play again this weekend?
Next week, the 3rd.
Okay. I would think that the 3rd is probably realistically, if not certainly the 7th for the Atlas match, but we'll have to see.
Any news with Jan from Michael? No news yet. No news.
No, I don't think we've asked Bradley, and I think there was a sort of like random question that someone asked about injuries, and I think he just mentioned that he's just doing separate work just yet. I mean, he's coming back from something that could have been far more serious.
Yeah, a lot more serious. Well, Jose, you've talked a lot, and I'll go ahead and throw it back your way. Where can people follow you on social media?
You mind putting my tag up? At Jose R. Nunez 91, I believe, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You can also see that my Substack is attached there on my profile, and certainly periodically through MLSsoccer.com this past weekend, I had duds of matches to cover. So I hope that this weekend, this past Wednesday, I had duds. I was this close to writing about the Columbus game, but they ended up shitting the bed. So this weekend, hopefully it's better. And I do have the Dallas Philadelphia game, which I think is one of the priority matches. So should that score actually be good, or a victory for Philadelphia, I would think that is an article to be written. So yeah, you can catch me there.
Another question for you, Jose. When's the Bruno interview out?
Oh my goodness. I put a pause on the request. We tried to work out a date. It just wasn't working. And obviously this month of May has just been unbelievably hectic, and I don't want to be a nuisance to the player. So I think once we get to this international break here after Dallas, I think it might be fair game to try to catch him, and maybe it would be an in-person conversation. Though I like the Zoom, A, because it's easier, and B, you kind of get to see his reaction versus me just putting a microphone on a table. So yeah, more to come on that, and I hope you enjoy the Anthony Fontana. I got good to great feedback of someone who I think was unbelievably open about his situation throughout the years. But yeah, expect more from me here in the coming weeks, if not months.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of interviews, Michael was right here saying shout out to Todd for the Ben Bender interview. And this is something I was thinking about too, Jose, where you said you'd rather be in front of Zoom than holding a mic. But I was thinking back to my conversation with Cole Turner when I interviewed him a couple years ago, and I did that via Zoom. And it was a little bit awkward and everything. And I'm like, this interview with Ben Bender couldn't have went any better than what it went in person. We talked for 12 minutes, like with me holding the mic in his face. And then we talked like 8 minutes afterwards just about fishing. And I know Michael asked a couple of weeks ago, he's like, yeah, you gotta talk about the fishing aspect with him. We did. I just never recorded it. And of course, you get two Maryland guys in the room. We all know the same fishing spots. We all fish in the same spots. Like everybody knows the money spots. And so one of the comments people for the union, it was so funny just looking over my shoulder and looking at her when he's mentioning a place that I go all the time here in Joppa. And I was like, dude, I go there all the time in my kayak. And she's like, oh my God. Like you can tell the look on her face. She's like, oh my God, like these guys can really relate with one another. Yeah, I mean, it's a Maryland thing. Like, of course, we all know all the money spots. And so I'm not surprised Ben's been to the spot that I go to all the time. I'm not surprised that I'm at the spot him and his dad and his brothers are fishing at all the time. So it was a fantastic interview. I appreciate the shout out there, Michael. If you guys haven't read the Ben Bender interview yet, I'll leave a link in the show description. But that interview happened 2 weeks ago and I had been putting it off, and you guys had heard my news last episode why I delayed the podcast with my friend Alex passing away due to colon cancer. And so I'm glad I was able to get that interview out for you guys. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying that. And for people, again, who haven't read it yet, I'll leave a link to that in the show description. And maybe for you, Michael, maybe next time we'll just talk all fishing and I'll run an article about fishing, and Ben can give you guys fishing techniques if you guys are in for fishing. But yeah, had a fantastic conversation with Ben Bender, and I'm hoping to see him get plenty more opportunities with Union, and we'll see what the future holds after 2025, since that's all his deals through. And maybe he comes out and signs a newer deal with Union. We shall see how 2025 goes for Ben Bender. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow @FreeKickPod wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/FreeKickPod for the podcast live every single episode, and check out the goals breakdown videos. Don't forget, guys, 10 minutes after the show, goals breakdown video will be live. So don't log off of YouTube yet. Go ahead and check out the goals breakdown video, and then check out my writing, thefreekick.substack.com, where you can also check out the goals breakdown video and the podcast. Make it super easy for you guys. And a lot of love coming in for us, Jose, tonight, saying that they're enjoying the content that you and I do. This fan base, this Union sphere is the best, and the support you guys give both of us and Kyle and Jillian Almany, Mike Brewer, and so many other wonderful people in this community. You guys are the best. You guys are the reason why we continue to grind every single week to give you guys the most up-to-date news, the best content out there for the Philadelphia Union. And you so happen to catch me wearing Phillies gear every now and then. So I don't know why I plug that, but yeah, go Philly sports. Because with that said, my name is Todd, and this is The Free Kick Podcast.